What is an iceberg exactly? So it's a deep dive into like a topic. So like let's take an example of like Star Wars as an iceberg. The whole idea of an iceberg is that there's a little bit on the top that you can visibly see, but most of an iceberg is actually below the surface. If you didn't know that, most icebergs, only the tip is visible above the water, and most of the structure is actually below the water where you can't see it. So, like, for like Star Wars, for example, as an iceberg, the movies would be the top of the iceberg because that's what everybody's familiar with. Most people have seen 1 or 2 Star Wars movies, even if they're not like super interested in them. They've seen it like at least 1 or 2. That's like the top of the iceberg. But then, like, below the surface would be, like, the shows. And then below that would be the games. And then below the games would be the comics and the books, right? Like, things that, as you get deeper, more people will probably not know about this because it's a little bit more niche and not as visible or easily accessible as what is above the water. And which is what people will mostly probably be able to indulge in. Probably gonna butcher this person's name, but Liuss, Liuss, made the DBD Iceberg. So here is this video. Make sure you go over there, give it a like, and a subscribe to the channel itself, because once again, this is not our content, this is someone else's. So please support the official release by liking and subscribing. That way they get that support from us. So yeah, I've only started playing this game in May of 2020. PTB with the Pyramid Head was the first content I ever played for this game. So an iceberg's going to be pretty interesting for you to watch because there's going to be stuff I get and there's going to be a lot of stuff I don't get. And equally for you, there's going to be a lot of stuff you don't get and you do get depending on the time at which you join the game. So, yeah.
The deepest depths of Dead by Daylight, and I guarantee you there's going to be something
I contributed to Gerald. I showed people how to do that. I am part of why that exists.
Now, for those that aren't aware of this concept, an iceberg video starts up here, with the most common pieces of knowledge that most new players will be exposed to, and it goes down to the more obscure, weirder space, down to what I like to call the basement of the sea. For this, I've taken inspiration from other icebergs the community has made up, and through my own experiences and research. So let's get started right at the top.
The demo lettuce.
Boop the Snoot. This refers to Pig and how survivors like to give her a little pet on the nose with the pointing emote. Basement Bubbas are Bubba players that stay
This joke is so old. I know we ran into one today, but legitimately this joke has been around since this character's been in the freaking game. And people still think it's funny. It's not funny anymore. The meme is over. Let it go.
Hey buddy, wanna be my Valentine? I'm sure this is the 200th joke like that.
Nope, actually,
Theme 1 love, theme 1 high pay.
Actually, nobody's asked me to be their Valentine today. So, thank you. Thank you very much for the 6 months as well, friend. Hopefully you've been well. I know you only stop by sometimes, but I do appreciate you a bunches. So thank you for that. Very sweet. Flying Pitta is not real true. But yeah, Basement Bubba is a dead meme. Stop doing it. It's not funny anymore. Everybody's seen it 12 million times. Oh my god. I'm going to start my own stream. And my whole gimmick is that I just cut people in the basement. Like, bro, you're like the 18,000th person to come up with that gimmick. Like, nobody cares anymore. Get over it.
Basement. They either hide there until someone goes down there, or they bring someone down and then hide. That way, if more people come down, it's easy for Bubba to take advantage of that and just down them all. DBD Mobile is, as you can guess, the mobile version of Dead by Daylight. Because it's handheld, there's quite a bit that's different about it, from leveling up and getting add-ons to just the gameplay alone. It also has different mories. Also, it's free to play, so obviously it has a lot of really nice skins.
Yep.
Stranger Things removal. Behavior couldn't renew their license with Netflix to keep the Stranger Things DLC. That meant that all of the content, the map, the killer, the survivors, and cosmetics, all of that was pulled back, so it can't be purchased now. All of the character perks were renamed and
get out of your system. Lie to me. Tell me you miss Hawkins. Put on your rose-colored glasses. Tell me you miss Hawkins. I remember back in the day all you whining about it and how terrible it was, and I agree with you. I agree with you about it. I want to say that. How bad this map was, how much I hate indoor maps, how Hawkins was terrible. I want to hear you telling me that you miss it. Put on your glasses. We'll get it all out of our systems. Tell me you miss it, because I know you didn't when you actually played it. You hypocrites. But go ahead and tell me you miss it. I'll wait. I'll wait. The aesthetic and the gameplay, not so much. That's how I feel about Midwich. That's exactly how I feel about Midwich. Aesthetic, great. Gameplay, yuck. See, that's a little bit more honest. You may have preferred it over other indoor maps, but you still didn't like it.
and made base kit perks for any character to unlock. Anybody who bought the DLC beforehand gets to still use the characters though. The Fog Whisperers program is a partner program for Dead by Daylight's top content creators. There's no application process for this, as Behavior themselves seek out new members that use the hashtag Into the Fog on Twitch and YouTube. Members get chapter codes to give away to viewers, in-game currency, and can even get information on upcoming content to reveal to their communities. Shirt My Survivor. During the last week of each month, the DBD team goes through Twitch to find affiliates or partners that are exemplary content creators. This hashtag is to get their attention and refers to a streamer being selected and receiving a Twitch shirt for a survivor and a Twitch charm for killers. Pretty good job so far.
I would never get that. I would never ever get that because I just speak my mind. They don't like that, so that's just not gonna happen.
An interview that Matthew Cote did where, when asked about Dead by Daylight's development, he said,
I think we did a pretty good job so far.
The community took issue
I
with
love it so much because, like, the way he kind of, like, stutters when he says it shows uncertainty in his statement, you know? I think that's what really sells it right. That's what really sells it.
Development, he said,
because, like, it's so, like, it's such a simple question, right? Like, hey, how do you think the development of the game is going? You know, I would say, like, yeah, we're doing pretty well. Like, I would just say it very enthusiastically, but he kind of, like, he's, like, kind of, like, shrinking a little bit, holding his arms. He's like, hey, we did a pretty good job so far. he's like, unsure.
I think we did a pretty good job so far.
The community took issue with this statement because the game at the time was often riddled with bugs and issues, but as time progressed and the game actually got better, Cote has thrown this line out as a joke.
I think we've done a pretty good job so far.
I love this team, and I love the work, the skill, the passion that has gone into it. I love this game. And if someone was to ask me again the same question, I do believe I would tell them again, I think we've done a pretty good job so far.
I do. One thing I will always appreciate about Behavior, despite missteps and such like that, like, you can tell that, like, Cote cares. He really does. Regardless of what happens at the end of the day, you can tell he loves this game. And he really does like what he made. He's proud of his baby, you know? Even if it doesn't translate all the time, like, you can tell he loves it. And that's something that I always find very, like, wholesome and earnest to see, you know?
God pallets. These are pallets that are around an area that makes looping the killer so much easier, such as at Shack. It's often frowned upon to drop these pallets early on in the game because the killer will just destroy it, and then that area won't be as effective against them later on. Nia is the entity. Sometimes, as a meme, Nia is referred to as the entity or a killer because she used to look very, very, very not friendly looking and emotionless. Fangs cosmetic.
That one I found, like, that one I wasn't around for that, so, like, I didn't get it. And when somebody told me, I was like, is that it? Is that it? It's just like, that's all the joke was? Like, that doesn't feel like that has any meat. Like, that's not funny. Like, what's the joke? Like, where's the punchline? That's it? She's just ugly? Like, okay. Like, good one. Like, okay. Like, that's such an iconic joke, and the lore is just, she's ugly. Like, like, okay.
Secret that it's a popularity contest with survivors. The ones that players use the most are the ones that get the best cosmetics, and then the ones that get the best cosmetics are the ones that players use the most. And it's just one whole big cycle that's personified as Fang. With every single event, it's practically a given that she's going to get a new skin, even getting cosplay outfits when it's another character's event. Like with Jill and Cheryl, chat censor. In 2021, a chat censor was added that kinda confused everyone. It was very sensitive and would sometimes be a gamble whether or not your perfectly normal and appropriate sentence would be replaced with. It would even censor GG and the names of killers, survivors, and perks, all while toxic people still found ways around it to say things that the censor should have detected. Many have stated that this censor doesn't make any sense and that it shouldn't be as sensitive as it is, considering that Dead by Daylight is an M-rated game.
Sometimes you can't say the names of, like, survivors or killers, right? Like, sometimes you can't even say that. It's just like, it's so bizarre.
I've actually made a meme video about this, so if you want to learn more.
A what? A what? What is a meme? Oh.
Custom icons. On PC, players can actually change what perks and character portraits look like. This is done with the Icon Toolbox application, where you select the icons you want and it changes the game files to that. Moonwalking is a maneuver that lets the survivor walk backwards, and it's usually done to show off. Hooked on You is the dating simulator game featuring a few killers from the main game. If this is your first time hearing this, I promise you that this is real.
More likely than you think. Tier 2, let's go.
Maurice, formerly located around Clown's
This
area.
joke is ruined. This joke is ruined. It feels like this was our joke and then they took it. Like this is literally like I hate this meme now. It feels like behavior was like got in on the joke and ruined it. Like it was our joke. Maurice was our boy, and now you're like let's take him out of the game. Let's put him back in. Let's make him a skin. Like Maurice was ours, man. You made him corporate. You made him a corporate horse. You made Maurice a corporate horse, a corporate sellout horse.
Father Campbell's chapel map. Maurice was a horse that became a favorite among the community. He was burned and blinded when entering the realm, so the entity gave him a third eye to make up for it. Then one day, he just mysteriously disappeared and wouldn't make another appearance until the dredge was released. The dredge is made up of the dark thoughts and body parts of a cult, so unfortunately for Maurice, he Behavior made a lost horse post on Twitter, so hopefully we'll be getting more info on what exactly happened to him. So while I was working on this video, they brought Maurice back into the game. And not only that, they gave the dredge a new skin, and it's Pride Charm Light. Using the flashlight on the Pride Flag Charm turns the light into a rainbow light.
That's very
PTB changes. The public test build is where PC players can play upcoming content early. As the name implies, its purpose is for the developers to see how
that skin is said, you know how much people like that skin? There are people that come into chats, they've done it to me too. They'll come into chats and be like, bro, Dredge? Why aren't you using the Maurice skin? Like literally. Like it's a phenomenon. People are like, bro, where's your Maurice skin? Huh? Where's the Maurice skin? It's annoying.
That new content. That way they can tweak it upon launch. That's not restricted to gameplay mechanics and stuff like that though. They have changed the chase music of killers before and even changed out Kate's voice because, well...
yeah.
Shirtless Myers is a thirst meme that was started when this image
This
was
joke's
posted.
done too. This joke is old. This joke needs to die. This is the same as the Maurice joke. Well, it's not the same because the joke was ruined by behavior for Maurice. This joke was ruined by the community. Like this one's old and stupid, and I'm tired of hearing it. This one's stale. It's a stale meme.
On Reddit, instantly becoming a hit. Matthew Cote even joked about adding Pantsless Myers as a cosmetic. Blendette is a nickname for Claudettes that like to wear dark clothing to better hide from killers.
I still don't like
Moon
this.
bouquets
Makes me
were
uncomfortable.
offerings that changed how intense and Moonlight was for the match. It was eventually removed because the developers wanted more control over the lighting they decided for each map to ensure a better experience for everyone. Splinters were offerings that let players try out a DLC killer before buying them. They just wouldn't have any perks or add-ons though. The Sanctum of Wrath.
Yep, sure is. Yep, it is.
Statues are always staring at you. When you move away and move the camera so they're out of your sight and then look back at them again, there they are. Space Billy program. Space Billy refers
No! I loved doing this! It was so fun! Oh, God!
to Billy players that were able to use his chainsaw rush to get to places no one should have been able to get to. As of now, this is no longer possible to do. Midwitch's secret
advantage! It literally didn't have a competitive advantage. There was no reason to do it besides to make people laugh. It was just a joke. There was no competitive advantage to Space Billy. Like, there really wasn't. It was just to make people laugh. It was just to cause a joke. Took it out. Like, come on.
room. On Midwich, the clock tower opens up to reveal a hidden room with a chest inside. This room only opens if you repair 2 specific generators in a specific order. You would need to repair the generator in the chemistry lab, followed by repairing the generator in the music room. Once that's completed and the endgame collapse begins, the room opens up. Otto Stamper is a notable unseen character in the lore because he's involved with 2 seemingly separate killers. He first appeared on the Doctor's lore, where he was his mentor until the Doctor turned Otto into one of his experiments. Before that, Otto was the leader of a cult where he put fear and dark thoughts in the minds of his followers, causing them to violently destroy each other. Those fears, dark thoughts, and body parts manifested into the Dredge. I also have videos on their lore, and for a lot of other killers. Go check that out. Hellraiser NFT. After the Hellraiser chapter,
This is the closest I ever got to winning the game. This right here is the closest I ever got to quitting DBD. This, like, I understand that it was Kote's baby, right? Like, Kote wanted Hellraiser really badly. But the compromise to let the company, not Behavior, but let another company make NFTs with their model, like, I didn't spend money in DBD for, like, 2 months. I didn't buy a single thing for, like, 2 months straight. This was dark. This was not a good time for the game. Like, I'm fortunate that I continued playing the game, but I seriously considered stopping.
After release, Behavior announced a collaboration with Boss Protocol to make the Hellraiser DLC models into NFTs. Players embraced this collab with open arms and... Wait, no, that's not right. Ah, there we go. I got the right script. This sparked understandable outrage because 1, it's NFTs. And 2, no one knew exactly what this meant for Dead by Daylight. Was this just the start? Are more NFT elements going to be added later on? People were review bombing the DLC page because
at least, like, the only thing that was really the saving grace for me was that, like, Behavior themselves didn't make them. They just let another company make NFTs with their model in order to receive the license. It was like a trade. So that was, like, the only thing that if they had made them themselves, I think I would have just quit. Like, that is so wild that this happened.
this news came out a month after the DLC did. So they were upset because they wouldn't have bought it if they had known it would be connected with NFTs. Another concern was if the game would even be allowed on Steam anymore. This is because Valve, not long before this controversy...
Are you sure about that, Toto? Because, like... I would check that one.
...out a statement saying that NFTs are not allowed on their platform. Behavior then clarified that...
That was another thing. Yeah, like that's another thing. Is like, yeah, because Steam like doesn't allow games with NFTs on their platform. So if Behavior had made them themselves and it was available through Dead by Daylight, they wouldn't be on Steam anymore.
NFTs are in no way going to be in the game itself, and no content will be hidden.
You heard that too? So did they like make a different model? Because like I've seen the NFTs, it is definitely at least very reminiscent, if that's not the case, of the actual like NFT models.
NFT paywall. Their statement also hinted that when they got the rights to Hellraiser, the license owners still have complete control over what they can do with those models because they 100% own those characters. Behavior potentially had no idea these assets would be made into NFTs. That means they would have been kind of contractually obligated to make that NFT announcement because the alternative was that the whole Hellraiser chapter would be completely scrapped.
Yep.
Sadako's intro. 7 days after buying the Sadako Rising DLC,
this was so
a special intro plays when you open up the game. It's a remake of the original clips that play on Sadako's VHS, but with Dead by Daylight characters. The 7 days is a reference to the fact that in the movie, whoever watches Sadako's VHS tape will die in 7 days. DBD is Ringu 3. Behavior couldn't get the likeness rights of the actors that played the protagonist in the first Ringu, so instead they used Yoichi Asakawa, who was a child in the 2 movies and was the sole survivor of Sadako's curse. They aged him up and made him a scientist, like his father. More specifically, he studied the sea and coast because that's where Sadako might be. So with all of that, his involvement in DBD can be considered a sequel to the Ringu movies. Blackface Bubba. Bubba used to be able to collect the faces of the original survivors.
Did you know this is still one of my most disliked videos? This was one of my most disliked videos where I talked about how this was wrong and needed to be taken out of the game. That is still one of my most disliked videos. Doesn't that make you lose a little bit of faith in humanity? That's just... How is it 2023 and I need to tell you that that's not okay?
After killing them 25 times. These cosmetics, however, were removed because of Bubba wearing Claudette's face. It wasn't removed due to him quite literally wearing a black face, because Bubba doesn't see color and kills everyone equally. Rather, it was removed because that specific cosmetic was used to specifically harass and all around be toxic to players that were using...
Even that statement that this guy just made completely undermines the historic use of that to do that. You can say it's like, oh, well... He just did that for every survivor. But yeah, but like historically, that's not what that means. That's not what that means. That's not what that means. You can scream until you're blue in the face that it's like it's just more accurate. But like we live in the real world, buddy. In the real world, that's what that means. You just got to deal with it. You got to.
There was a backlash to this because this was after the incredibly sensitive chat filter was implemented. Players believed that behavior wasn't doing enough to deal with toxic players, and that the removal of these cosmetics was more performative than it was effective. Spirit and Oni. Spirit is a descendant of Oni. In his lore, his rage made him famous. That warrior rage was passed down and activated in Spirit's tome, where his roar can be heard right before that rage takes over against her bullies.
Being sarcastic. I hope that's what he meant it like. I hope that was. I didn't hear a sarcastic tone. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did because I didn't catch that.
Special outfit sounds. Certain outfits for survivors and killers add sound effects to them.
The Attack on Titan ones do. Very aggressively.
Huntress's Baba Yaga skin takes it a step further and actually changes her lullaby. Ghostface's chase music. Ghostface technically has had 6 total different chase themes so far. Before the most recent theme, he had one that sounded like this.
Oh! Oh, it's so bad. It sounds like a printer. I know everybody goes washing machine, but it sounds like a printer. As somebody who worked at a school and had to make like copies and copies and copies of stuff, it literally sounds like a printer. It literally sounds like you were printing 100 sheets of a single worksheet. It literally freaks me out.
Yeah, that got changed a bit a few weeks later. The volume was lowered while they worked on a new version that came out the week after, and then that one was changed one more time the following week to what it is now. Jiggle physics. It's kind of obvious that certain survivors have jiggle physics, but so does Clown's belly, and so does Oni's Attack on Titan skin
Also, like, this is so funny because, like, this is a phenomenon in games I find so strange because they don't. It doesn't really work that way, you know? Like the physics are bad, right? Like the physics don't represent at all how body parts actually move. like I'm not just walking down the hallway and my cake's just like swinging around at my back end. Like neither like if you have a beer gut like Cloud, it doesn't move around like that. like why is this a thing?
A certain angle. Clown intoxication cursor. When intoxicated, the screen of the survivor is all dizzy and wobbly. There's a small crosshair in the middle, and that's there to prevent motion sickness since it's something stationary that the player can focus on. Auto Haven bodies. There are body parts in crushed cars on these maps because Wraith's job involved crushing cars. However, he didn't know that pretty much every single car he crushed had a body, dead or alive, inside of it. It was a service that his boss offered for sketchy clients. Deathslinger's gun wipe. Deathslinger wipes blood away from his gun in a specific way. He moves it out so that death to Bayshore is visible. Bayshore being his former boss that screwed him over by selling his patents. Legacy skins. Players were given exclusive entity touch skins as a reward for prestige.
New Legacy looks so bad. When they redid these for the model update, it looked really bad. Or it does look really bad rather. Like the remakes of these do not look good. They went from being kind of this cool glowy stuff to kind of like being like Cheeto dust. I think the new Legacy looks terrible.
Patch 1.3 in late 2016. A patch that made the grind much easier. These skins can't be earned in-game anymore and will never return. The $350,000 streamer tournament. Dead by Daylight had a tournament with some big-name streamers for $350,000. Let me say that again. $350,000. The majority of these streamers have never touched the game before that event, and it is not an easy game to get into. As we all know, there are so many mechanics and abilities and strategies to learn, and it also didn't help that there were strict rules in place for this.
There's so many rules to this game, and I don't know what the rules are in the tournament.
The whole thing was just a recipe for turmoil, as the streamers spent a good chunk of that time complaining about the game in front of thousands of potential new players.
Yep.
I know Dead by Daylight coach, if you want one, I am never going to play this game again. So
that's got to be so damning. Like, you try to do that, you try to like make this big advertisement for your game, and one of the biggest streamers on the platform goes, "I am never playing this game again." That's awful. That's you don't come back from that.
The Observer is the narrator of all the tome
I
entries. He's
miss
trapped
him.
in a tower in a subrealm that's hidden from the entity. He's trapped there because he had an interest in Celestials after seeing a world get destroyed, which caused him to discover the entity. As a result, he was banished to the tower for disobeying a group known as the Council. While trapped, he carried on the traditions of the tower and makes observations of the entity's realm. He holds an Oris device that allows him to find memories and stories of those who are in the fog, and that's how we get the tome entries. Benedict Baker is an unseen character that's responsible for giving us a good chunk of the first-hand lore reportings that we've seen. He intentionally sought out the entity's realm and was devoted to finding it and figuring out how it works. Ever since then, he's been stuck in the trials just like the rest of the survivors. In his journal, he writes about his encounters with other survivors, killers, and just about anything else that's in the entity's realm. Lore contradictions. Dead by Daylight's lore has quite a bit of inconsistencies for its characters. More specifically, between a character's launch lore and the tome
Dude,
lore,
Toto, I'm sorry, but the Legion lore is so all over the place. It's so all over the place. And they retcon it all the time, too. It's like... And they've got a comic book coming out that's probably going to retcon even more things. like, it's like, they cannot get the story of these four idiots straight. They just literally can't. It's whatever they want it to be. It's whatever they want it to be.
they may get. Not to mention the quotes their add-ons have. Wesker's sunglasses. When stunning Wesker, there's a chance his glasses will fall off. If that happens, he just grabs another pair from his coat.
Funny.
Danny Johnson is the original killer behind the game's Ghostface mask. Behavior didn't get the rights to the Scream license, but they did get the rights to use the Ghostface mask. That's because the Scream franchise actually used an existing general mask for the movies.
Yep.
So the copyright was split between the franchise and the mask. Despite that, Ghostface still wipes the knife the same way he wipes it in the movies. The entity's
Yeah, you can't
favorite.
copyright a knife wipe. Motions are not copyrightable.
Ghostface is the entity's favorite because he actively enjoys being in the realm. The way he patiently and meticulously stalks his victims
miss
makes
Old
the
McMillan
entity
so
feel good,
badly.
I guess. Also, his straps float due to his connections with the entity. Jill's knife. Jill has a knife on her that she doesn't or can't use to
Other. Just go. This is why I don't really play the Resident Evil characters that much. Literally, why are you just taking down? Like, we were just talking about Danny. Good old Danny Johnson. Jill could just take down Danny Johnson. Danny Johnson's like, what's your favorite scary movie? And she just, I'm from a video game. Just like, that would be the end of that, right? that would be the end of that, right? Like that, he would be gone. Legion. All 4 members of Legion. Gone. like I need to move on. I'm angry.
fight back against the killers. Resident Evil Safe Room. On the Raccoon City police station map, whenever you enter a room that was considered a safe room in Resident Evil 2, the safe room melody plays.
Such a cool
Vigo
touch.
is an inventor that studies the entity, who potentially created the hatch, as it is known that the entity didn't make it. He also went into the void, a limbo-esque realm where the entity discards broken, hopeless survivors when they're no fun anymore.
I think that's the most cool part of DBD's lore. That's the most cool part of DBD's lore. It's so scary. So scary. The void, I don't know, something about the idea of the void scares me. It's just like the idea that it's just kind of like the entity's trash can. And that there are probably like hundreds of survivors that have predated our characters that have just been thrown in the entity's trash can and we have never met or known them. How many killers who have been disobedient has the entity just chucked into the universal trash can and we have no idea they've ever even existed? Who could possibly on the current roster, for one reason or another, just get thrown into the entity's trash can? Who knows? Who knows? That's kind of messed up that the entity could just kind of at any point go like, you're not fun to me anymore. I'm just going to make you cease to exist. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. You could throw Jonah away. True. Very, very true.
managed to escape using putrid serum. He and Blight are the only ones to have ever escaped from the void. Some survivors also have skins revolved around Vigo. Pyramid Head's tongue can be found in the game's files. The reason isn't clear, but Behavior probably tried to implement it since he does use it in Silent Hill 2.
It's just
Stretch
weird.
resolution. You used to be able to stretch the game resolution out, resulting in people being able to see around corners much better.
You know, people to this day still say this didn't give you much of an advantage. Like, people still say this did not give you that much of an advantage. Isn't that crazy? People still say this didn't matter. People still die on this hill that this was not that effective. Isn't that crazy? That's so weird. Stretch rate is so painful. It is painful to look at, but like you literally see over loops. Like you literally do. Like you can argue how effective it is, but it's still effective.
Thus giving themselves an advantage. This would actually also get Ghostface out of his stock, even if he wasn't being directly stared at. Basement walls. There are lights shining in through the basement's walls, which is notable because it's a basement, it's underground. So what's shining through? It's theorized that this is actually a manifestation of the entity since it glows like other entity-related things. The basement has a special connection with the entity, so it could be that the boundaries of the realm are weakened down there, letting the entity slip through the cracks. Doctor's origins. During development, the Doctor was originally called Mu Yi, and his add-ons seem to be Chinese-themed. This has led to speculation that his original inspiration was from Yang Yangxin, an infamous Chinese therapy doctor. He's specifically controversial for using electroconvulsive therapy on kids to cure them of internet and video game addictions. This would have made sense considering that the Doctor was released alongside Fang, an alcoholic pro gamer that was down on her luck. If this was indeed the case, the Doctor was likely changed because his inspiration is still alive.
This is what I find so funny. Like, I know I'm interrupting this, but like, this is what I find so funny about like Wesker. This seems like an aside, but I promise it's funny. Like Wesker just like going into the entity's trial and having his voice lines, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, it's cool that, and it's things that Wesker would say, but like, why is he saying it to Fang? Fang is an alcoholic esports gamer. Just like a little twig who's really down on her luck and really sad. Like, and he goes, "You really think you could defeat me?" Like, it's like, yeah, of course she can't defeat you, man. She's a recovering alcoholic and addicted to video games. Like, what do you think she's gonna fist fight you? Like, what do you think was gonna happen? Like, did you think she stood a chance realistically at all? Like, huh? Like, you're talking down to a bunch of teenagers, dude. I'm looking at Dwight Fairfield and going, disappointing indeed. Dwight's on the ground like, dude, I deliver pizza for a living. What did you want out of me?
5. Graphic updates. Dead by Daylight has been out for a while and has only gotten more popular, so it makes sense for them to give the game a glow up here and there, both for maps and characters. Just compare launch footage to current gameplay.
It's prettier, but it's not as stylistic.
This refers to how his Mori is the only Mori that doesn't kill the survivor. Instead, they're chained up and sent to hell. Trapper versus Entity. Trapper resisted the Entity and didn't want to be its pawn, so he was tortured and punished with hooks embedded into him. Ghostface's phone. Ghostface's Mori in the PTB originally had a flip phone instead of a camera. This kinda didn't make sense considering flip phones didn't have front cameras. I mean, at least I don't think they do. I don't know, I'm a zoomer. Yui's Hachimaki. Yui wears a pink Hachimaki in every single one of her skins,
really cool.
even the Attack on Titan one. Hachimakis are usually worn as a sign of effort or courage, and in Yui's case specifically, her first was given to her by her supportive grandfather as a good luck charm. But that one got stolen by a stalker that landed her in the hospital. So the one she has now was given to her by her gang, with their signatures and good luck messages written on it. It became her gang's symbol of unity and support for women needing help from stalkers and abusers. Spaghetti code is a phrase used to describe source code that's unstructured and difficult to maintain. So
God, you see that? Oh, you see that?
Spaghetti code is a phrase used to describe source code that's unstructured and
look at that.
difficult to maintain, such as Dead by Daylight. It used to be a lot worse because new updates would have ripple effects that would bring unforeseen bugs and glitches to other aspects of the game. This issue is probably because the devs never expected the game to get this big.
What do you mean? Yeah,
it was probably fine for being a small indie game, but as it grew and grew, the code gets even messier and even more tangled. Huntress bombs. On release, Huntress had a sound issue where her hatchets were just a bit too loud. Myers saved DBD. It's been said by people who have been playing DBD from the early days that Myers kinda saved the game, or at the very least launched it to where it is now. The fact that Behavior was able to get such a huge license of an iconic horror character so early on in their game's life shot up its popularity and opened up so many doors for collaborations in the future. Meg in Resident
Because, like,
Evil.
the game itself is not that fun. Like, the game's fun, but it's not that fun. It's not actually as addicting and cool as it's supposed to be, or as, like, it's perceived to be. It's just that it's, like, the Smash Brothers of horror, of horror IPs. It's like Smash Brothers, but for horror movies and games, so it gets way more attention than it ought to have, just because it's cool. Like Smash, what's the new character that's going to come out and everybody gets excited about it, even if they don't really enjoy the game?
Evil DLC trailers. In the first Resident Evil DLC trailer, Meg is injured and presumed dead by Leon. However, in the trailer for the second Resident Evil DLC, she seems to have been saved
So is Leon just wrong? Does Leon just, like, call it too early for no reason? Like...
by Rebecca. Dredge's head. Because of Dredge's unique shape and how killers' bodies are split into 3 parts for cosmetic reasons, what we consider Dredge's head is technically its body piece. The left appendage is considered its leg piece, and the right appendage, which is the weapon, is considered the cosmetic head piece. Dimitri. Coldwind Farm has a tree with hanging animals, and its name is Dimitri. The meat tree. Gerald is an abomination.
I'm so sorry. This is my fault, and I will take accountability. It's not all my fault, but it's partially my fault. I will take the accountability. I showed people how to do this. I was part of this. This is kind of like where I got my start on YouTube, was showing people how to do the set glitches. So, yeah. Sorry about Gerald. My apologies.
Of nature that used to occur when a very specific set of steps were followed to create this cosmetic glitch.
made
Charlotte
tutorials
was
about that.
pregnant. The original idea for the twins was supposed to be a mother and her unborn son. It was changed because, yeah, getting outside of the map. Ever since the game's launch, people have been trying to leave it. By that I mean finding ways to glitch out of the map, whether on purpose or not. The most common way is being able to move around beyond the exit. Hag Cannon refers to a now patched glitch that launched survivors up when they fell onto a hag trap. It also worked when jumping onto one of the husks.
Woo!
Ace's money. On Ace's Mean Street skin, he has a wad of money in his pocket. Looking at the money closely reveals that his face is right on it.
So it's fake money. It's not real. It's fake. Well, that sounds like an Ace thing to do, I guess. I guess.
Localized translations. There have been many complaints from native speakers about how the game's translations aren't exactly the best, and there have been many online campaigns begging for their language to be updated. Myers and Pyramid Head versus the Entity. There's a theory that Myers and Pyramid Head are more powerful than the Entity and are the ones that could defeat it. Myers is the shape of evil, and therefore he's practically immortal. He doesn't have a conscience or desires or aspirations, he just has an instinct for evil. Pyramid Head is similar in a way since he's fixated on dispensing punishment through pain. They both also have their own Moris in their kit, signifying how they could disobey the Entity's rules. However, skeptics point out that in the lore, Pyramid Head and the Entity made an agreement for him to stay in the realm. He wasn't taken, he was invited. Lori was being taken and Myers ended up following her into the Entity's realm. He didn't resist because it's where a killer like him does what he does best. Entity took the box. Is the theory that the Entity brought the lament configuration into the realm so someone could solve it and therefore
Pinhead is right there with them. Pinhead is actually arguable. Like, Pinhead serves something that is, like, kind of like the Entity, Leviathan. And it's arguable, like, how strong Pinhead is compared to Leviathan. Like, he is a servant, but he's really strong himself. So, arguably, Pinhead might be stronger than the Entity, which... It's so funny just to think about. The Entity is just like... Oh, hello. I don't remember contacting you to be a new killer. I am here to find the box. Okay. Enjoy? like, just a big Lovecraftian entity going, yeah, do whatever you want, I guess.
or summon Pinhead. This makes a bit of sense since it'd be a lot easier to do this instead of just taking Pinhead, considering he is kind of powerful. The white eyes theory tries to explain why some killers have white glowing eyes. It's theorized that the entity is making these killers see survivors differently to motivate them to kill. Deathslinger sees everyone who's wronged him. Spirit sees her father, who chopped her and her mother up.
That's really interesting. I haven't heard this one. The killers with white eyes are doing it to blind them? Ah. That's interesting. Ah. That's interesting.
Sees those that burned his village down and slaughtered his people. Spirit wasn't supposed to be taken. This is a theory that the entity is the one that made Spirit's dad snap in order for him to slice up his wife and daughter so that the entity could take him. However, in that moment, the entity saw the potential in Spirit's overwhelming anger and took her instead at the last second. The entity made the artists. Crows are a big part of the artist's lore, but here's the thing. Crows aren't native to where she's from in Chile. That detail has led to speculation that the entity is the one that sent them there and made her life outlandishly difficult. This would explain—
Yeah, because her lore's f***ing stupid. Her lore is just torture porn. And it's fucking dumb. This whole chapter's a miss. A complete miss when it comes to their lore. Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
How her life is just one tragic event after another. The entity needed her to suffer to become a better killer, and after she accidentally killed her friends, she was ready to be taken. Pyramid Head and Michaela. In Michaela's trailer, on her wall is a poster of Pyramid Head. Meg and Claudette race swap. In the game's alpha, Meg and Claudette look quite a bit different than how we know them today. Blonde Meg. On release, Meg was actually blonde. Meg is in Resident Evil 8. When walking around the
Yep, I know this one.
castle, you could hear this familiar scream in the background. Climbing was an unused mechanic that was removed when the game was a prototype. It would have let survivors climb walls to get away from the killer. A bit of this idea still exists in the game, as killer shacks have holes on the roofs. The teacher.
The stock sound? Is it? Is it actually a stock sound, Justin? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I have learned today. I didn't know that was just a stock sound. Interesting.
It's a scrap killer that had an educational theme. The speculation for their existence came from a July 2016 update where these 3 files were added into the game. It's speculated that this could have just been a red herring from the developers, as they had recently announced that they were working on the first ever chapter DLC. The killer for it turned out to be Nurse, and those files were just never used for anything. The Smasher was a scrap killer whose power was, well, to smash. He was able to destroy absolutely everything in a level. Trees, walls, buildings, everything. He was removed because he would be too difficult to really balance if he could just destroy the whole place.
So they just made that character that could go through walls instead of destroy the walls. It was better. Miles.
Maps. There was actually a good chunk of progress on a map on the Blackwater Swamp realm that had a focus on sewer pipes. This led to speculation that Pennywise would be coming to DBD, since a part of his aesthetic is sewers. Sadako was supposed to get a map with her release that was similar to Coldwind Farms. However, the idea didn't go anywhere because they realized that the map was too similar to Coldwind Farms. Pinhead was also considered to get a map with his release, but didn't because the map would have had too much sexuality.
You're an M-rated game. Who cares? It's an M-rated game. What? It's an M-rated game. What? That's like... I feel like that's a really dumb reason. Really, really dumb.
Naked models. Certain character models have underwear underneath that sometimes even clip through clothes, while others, don't have anything underneath. Hold on, before you tab out to look that up, please wait until the end of the video to do it. This is all to make designing cosmetics for them easier, so pretty much everyone in the game technically has a nude model. The entity is a plant, or at the very least, plant-like enough. This theory comes from the fact that the entity is infected and weakened by blight once every year around Halloween. This is pretty much the only thing that's been proven to hurt the entity. What's significant about this is that blight is actually a real sickness found in plants that rots them away. DBD save files. DBD save files used to be on your computer, meaning if something happened to those files, then good luck. This was an issue with people who had earned legacy skins and couldn't get them back, so they instead received 10 million blood points. On that note, for a certain period of time, you could actually, in 4 steps, go into those save files and change the amount of blood points you have.
Man, this game's always been a mess, huh? Literally always, huh? Wow.
Plague's left eye. In her default outfit, Plague's left eye is hidden and rotting away. That's why this eye isn't animated and won't blink, even in outfits where that eye is exposed.
Interesting.
Body pillows.
Cool.
In Dead by Daylight's official store, there used to be a Huntress body pillow that you could buy. As of this video, there are still body pillows available, but for the Hooked on You game, Ghostface Hatchet. There used to be a hacker that played as Ghostface and would float around the map and teleport all while throwing hatches at people.
That's so funny.
Killer power swaps. In December of 2016, there was an exploitable glitch in the menu system that let killers swap powers, and even use survivor perks. This led to some interesting combos, like Chainsaw Myers running Bond. Not only that, but survivors could also use that same glitch to get a killer's power, with the most useful one being wraiths, since they could just become invisible. On top of that, a killer could accidentally drop their power and would have to go find it and pick it up to use it again. The icing on the cake here is that the developers were on break that December, so it didn't get patched until January 12th. Fences aren't canon. In Legion's trailer, Frank is running alongside David on the Mount Ormond Resort, and you could clearly see the fences that are in the game aren't in that trailer. Golden toolboxes are Easter eggs that are hidden around in every single realm. They can't be picked up or interacted with though. They're really only there as a nice little surprise for people to find. The Entity's music. The Entity could be heard spitting bars in Legion's fuming mixtape chase music.
Oh my god! What? What?
Wraith and Nurse. Surprise for people to find.
Dude, you're the Entity doing background tracks.
Entity's
That's
music.
so
the
funny.
Entity could be heard spitting bars
That's so
in Legion's
funny.
fuming mixtape chase music.
That's a budding career right there.
Wraith and Nurse. On a dev stream, a behavior developer mentioned that Wraith and Nurse had a thing. This is backed by them having matching Valentine's Day skins, referencing the Phantom of the Opera. On those skins, Nurse's heart is missing because it's on Wraith's weapon. That weapon is called the Heart of Miss Swanson. Pizza Emperor Dwight. Benedict Baker wrote about an alternate version of Dwight that went by the name Emperor Dwight.
Sir Regal Dwight, in a thicklish purple robe and golden crownee, steps out into the courtyard and greets all the peasants with good words and pizza.
Lost licenses. Nothing about this is confirmed, but it's been speculated that Behavior has had new license deals in the past that just fell through for one reason or another. We can only go off of leaks and speculation for this, but an example of this I've actually heard before is that Behavior lost the Pennywise and It chapter license because of a falling out with Warner Brothers, who are notorious for keeping their IPs on a short leash. Blighted skins are in the future. These skins are implied to happen later on in the character's lore because it's like a rebirth after Blight experiments on them. Trapper has more hooks in his shoulder than before. Instead of one, Clown has 2 rings of human fingers. Legion are all truly one. Oni has real demon horns. Him and Spirit receive a real third eye. It's also kind of funny that Wesker was very down to get blighted, because of course he is. Googling DBD art. If you look up DBD art on Google, one of the first images is Archie Macmillan's fathers. This is one of the more out there observations, but the joke theory is that Trapper's father is the love child of Mr. Rogers and Richard Nixon, because he looks similar, I guess, and wears comfy sweaters. The Entity's foot fetish. Someone out there, for some reason, just had to point out that a lot of female killers were barefoot, or had skins that made them barefoot, at least compared to the male killers. Third way to escape. Long ago, the devs mentioned that there has been a third way to escape a trial that's been in the game and has yet to be discovered. The ideas floating around are that it has to do with golden toolboxes, or maybe the basement, or maybe the fence could be climbed, or maybe there's a specific sequence of events that have to happen in a match. However, with how long the game has been out and the thousands and thousands of people that have played over the years, alongside all the people that have peeked into
Legion, Pig, and Charlotte has sandals. So technically her feet are still out. So it's really just Pig, which is a license, and then Legion. Legion's the only one.
game files, it seems that the most realistic thing here is that the devs were just doing a little trolling. Everything is canon. According to the DBD lore, the entity deals with the multiverse, and that's how licenses from fictional universes find their way there. It's also how there could be trials with multiple versions of the same survivor. The Observer mentions reading different stories of the Trapper, with them all being the same with slight differences. This means that every skin is canon, every match is canon. What's interesting about this is how Freddy and Myers exist as horror icons in the Stranger Things world. So imagine being Steve and Nancy, getting thrown into this realm that's already pretty spooky, and then seeing the actual faces of horror. The player is the entity, or at least an extension of it. The player chooses which survivor is going in to suffer, and which killer is going in to cause that suffering, alongside perks to give survivors hope and dread. It's through us that the entity sees what's going on. We can take this further by analyzing how similar the in-game trials are to a video game. It all works like a game, because it is. Getting 5 gens working makes the gates open up because that's the rules set by the entity. Every single survivor isn't actually an engineer. They just have to pretend to work on generators to progress the game. It's also why survivors can get scratched, punched, hooked, impaled, and not die, because the rules say they can't die like that. So with this theory, every killer player slugging the entire team is just making the entity stronger. Thank you so much for watching and making it to the end. If you have anything else to add to this list, please share your knowledge with the rest of us down in the comments. And I'll
that's crazy.
See you guys in the next one.
Wow, your mom was a scrap killer.
Losing in video.
Oh, hold on. Hey, relax. Hey, relax. Yeah, that entity one, I've heard that before, and I actually put a lot of stock in that. That one actually, that one I think actually makes sense. That one I think makes a lot of sense. Yeah, most of that I knew, but some of them were really funny, like the entity actually doing voice lines for the vocals for the Legion theme and stuff like that. A lot of it I actually surprisingly knew. Is pretty interesting. Wow, this was really funny. Yeah, this was a really, really good video. Yeah, it was funny too. It wasn't just like rogue information. Like, it was pretty funny. It was really good.